Welcome back, travelers. Shake the snow from your boots. The fire is struggling against the chill tonight, but that is fitting for where we are going. We have spoken of forests and kingdoms, of wars between men and orcs, and of the burning legions that rain from the sky. But tonight we climb. We ascend to the roof of the world, to the storm peaks. It is a land of silence, a land where the mountains are so high they pierce the crust of the sky, and the wind sounds like the mourning of lost gods. When you fly over these peaks, looking down at the ancient stone ruins half buried in the snow, you feel small, do you not? That is by design. This place was not built for mortals like you and me. It was built for giants. It was built for the architects of existence itself. Tonight, we open a heavy book, bound in stone and iron. We are going to speak of the Titans, the shapers of the universe. We will speak of the magnificent city of Ulduar and the terrible secret it was built to hide. We will speak of a tragedy between brothers that shattered the peace of the world and of a signal sent to the stars that nearly ended our existence. So, pour a strong drink. You will need it to keep the cold away. Let us look upon the works of the makers and despair. Chapter 1. The Ordering of Azeroth. To understand the tragedy of the Storm Peaks, we must look back to the very dawn of this world. Long before the orcs, before the humans, even before the elves built their first spire, we must go back to the ordering. When the Titans, the Pantheon, found Azeroth, it was a chaotic nightmare. The Black Empire ruled supreme. The old gods, Cthulhu, Dazoth, Yeshaj, and the beast we must discuss tonight, Yogg-Saron, had infested the world like a cancer. They burrowed deep into the crust, twisting the land into flesh and shadow. The Titans ripped the old gods from the earth, but they realized a terrifying truth. The parasites had grown too deep. To kill the old gods would be to kill Azeroth itself. And so, the Titans chose a different path. They chose to imprison them. Because the Titans were colossal beings of cosmic order, they could not remain on our small world to watch over these prisons. They needed wardens. They needed caretakers who could walk the surface. And so, they forged the Keepers from the very crust of the planet. It is important to remember their names, friends, for they were the gods of this world long before we prayed to the light. There was Odin, the prime designate, forged of molten silver and fire, given strength by Aman'Thul himself to lead the armies of the Forged. There was Tyr, the mighty combatant, who would one day sacrifice his hand to the darkness. There was Arcadus, the stonemason, and Mimiron, the brilliant architect, blessed by Norgannon with the mind to build the machines that would shape the world. There was Freya, the lifebinder, who walked the empty lands and seeded them with the first forests. There were the brothers of the storm and ice, Thorim and Hodir, masters of the skies. And finally, there was Loken, the weaver. Loken was blessed with unparalleled wisdom. He was the diplomat, the strategist, the one who kept the peace. And for an age, there was peace. The Storm Peaks were the center of civilization. The Keepers sat upon their thrones at the Temple of Wisdom, watching over the infant world. The Earthen carved the mountains. The Mechagnomes kept the great machines running. It was a golden age of machinery and magic. But stone can erode, iron can rust, and even the minds of demigods can be twisted if the whisper is quiet enough. Chapter 2. The Whisper in the Dark. They say the old gods do not fight with swords, they fight with patience. Yogg-Saron, the beast with 1,000 maws, was trapped beneath the glistening gold of Ulduar. The city was not built as a palace. Travelers, it was a cell, a beautiful golden cage. But even the strongest cage has a keyhole, and through that keyhole a whisper can pass. Yogg-Saron could not break his chains of enchanted iron. So he looked for the weak link in the chain of command. He found Loken. Why Loken? Because Loken was the thinker, and those who think too much often find themselves worrying. He began to fear for the future. He began to doubt the Titan's plan. He wondered if the Pantheon would ever return, and in that doubt, the old god found a foothold. The tragedy began with a sin as old as time, forbidden love, or perhaps forbidden lust. Loken began to covet the wife of his brother, Thorim. Her name was Sif. She was a Vrykul shield maiden of immense beauty and strength. Loken and Sif met in secret, hidden away from the eyes of the other keepers. But guilt is a heavy burden, even for a Titangent forged. Loken grew paranoid. He feared Thorim would discover the affair. He feared he would lose his station. The whispers of Yogg-Saron grew louder in his mind, playing on his insecurities, twisting his fear into violence. "They will judge you," the voice said. "They will cast you out." One fateful day, in the snowy wastes of the peaks, Loken confronted Sif. He panicked. He lashed out. And in a moment of madness, the Weaver of Wisdom killed the woman he claimed to love. Travelers, consider the weight of that crime. These were the guardians of the world, meant to be above such petty, mortal sins. But there she lay, cold in the snow, and with her death, the Golden Age ended. Chapter 3. The Web of Lies. Loken stood over the body of Sif, and the horror of what he had done washed over him. But Yogg-Saron was there, soothing him, offering a solution. "Hide it," the old god whispered. "Blame another." And so, the Weaver wove his greatest and most terrible tapestry, a lie that would drown the world in blood. Loken returned to his brother Thorim, not with a confession, but with a false tale. He told Thorim that the ice giants, the sons of Hodir, had grown jealous and hateful. He told him that Arngrim, the king of the frost giants, had murdered Sif in cold blood. Thorim. Poor Thorim. He was the lord of the storm, a being of passion and power. He did not question his wise brother. He did not investigate. He simply exploded. Thorim gathered his armies of Earthen and VIII and marched upon the Temple of Winter. The war that followed was brutal. The snows of the storm peaks turned red with the blood of giants and Titingent-born alike. Brother fought brother. The unity of the Keepers was shattered. And while they fought, Loken sat on his throne, watching the chaos, while the shadow grew longer in the halls of Ulduar. Chapter 4. The Fall of the Keepers. Eventually, Thorim realized the horror of his actions. He saw the devastation he had caused to his allies, the ice giants. Overcome with shame, he cast his weapon, Krolmir, into the snow. He retreated to the pinnacle of the Temple of Storms, sinking into a depression that would last for thousands of years. He sat there, brooding, isolating himself from the world. With the strongest warrior removed, Loken moved to dismantle the others. He invited the other keepers to meetings, only to ambush them. He used the confusing magic of the old god to cloud their minds. He tricked the gentle Freya, corrupting her garden of life within Ulduar until she served the old god's will. He broke the body of Hodir, forcing the Lord of Winter into a frozen shell of obedience. He sabotaged the workshop of Mimairon, killing the Grand Architect and placing his spirit into a mechanical construct, a brilliant mind, now unhinged and obsessed with creation without morality. Only Tyr, the bravest of them, suspected the truth. Tyr saw the shadow behind Loken's eyes. But even Tyr could not stand alone against the might of Ulduar's corrupted defenses. He fled south, taking the discs of Norgannon, the records of history, with him, an exile that would eventually lead to his death in the place we now call Tirisfal Glades. The coup was complete. Loken, the traitor, named himself the Prime Designate. He controlled the armies. He controlled the Forge of Wills. And beneath him, Yogg-Saron smiled. The prison had become a fortress for the prisoner. Chapter 5. The Curse of Flesh. But Loken's betrayal did not just affect the gods. It trickled down to their children. It trickled down to us. To weaken the armies of the Makers, Yogg-Saron unleashed a biomagical disease known as the Curse of Flesh. Look at your own hands, friends. Are they made of stone? Are they made of iron? No. They are soft. They bleed. They freeze in the wind. That is the curse. Originally, the Earthen were made of living stone. The Mechagnomes were made of clockwork and gears. The VIII were iron-skinned giants. But the Curse of Flesh softened them. It made them smaller, weaker, but also gave them free will. The Earthen became dwarves. The Mechagnomes became gnomes. The VIII gave birth to runty, weak children. King Imiron of the VIII ordered these weak infants to be killed. But some mothers, filled with compassion, could not bear to do it. They hid their children on ships and sent them south. To the eastern kingdoms, those runty children became the humans. Do you see the irony? We are the byproducts of this ancient war. We are the broken versions of the Titans' perfect designs. Loken hated us. He created new armies, the Iron Dwarves and the Iron Vrikul, to hunt down those who suffered from the curse. For centuries, a silent war raged in these mountains, a war of iron against flesh. Chapter 6. The Signal to the Stars. For thousands of years, the storm peaks stood silent. Loken ruled from the halls of lightning, convinced that he had won, but he lived in fear. He knew that one day the Titans might return. He knew that the Pantheon would see what he had done, and he knew about the failsafe. You see, the Titans were not foolish. They left an observer, a celestial constable made of starlight and mathematics. His name was Algalon. If the Prime Designate ever died, a signal would be sent to the stars. Algalon would descend to Azeroth to audit the world. He would check the corruption levels, and if he found that the old gods had compromised the planet's defense systems, he would not fix it. He would re-originate it. Re-origination. It sounds like a polite word, doesn't it? It is not. It means wiping the slate clean. It means reducing every mountain, every ocean, every city, and every living soul back to base elements. Dust, ash, nothing. Loken knew this, and so he stayed alive, not just for power, but to prevent the signal. He became the jailer of the world's destruction, holding the trigger in his own hand. Chapter 7. The Return of the Heroes. And this brings us to the modern day. To the arrival of the Alliance and the Horde in Northrend. We came to fight the Lich King. We came to siege Icecrown's citadel. But in the process, we stumbled into this ancient drama. The Explorers League, led by Bran Bronzebeard, began to dig up the secrets of the stones. They found the truth about their own origins. They found the brothers, Thorim and Hodir, still locked in their cycles of grief and rage. We, the mortals, the cursed ones, did what the Titans could not. We climbed the Temple of Storms. We faced Thorim and showed him the lie. We helped him find his courage again. But Loken was watching. In a final act of spite, Loken captured Thorim and dragged him back into the depths of Ulduar. To be broken like the others, we had no choice. We had to breach the gates. Travelers, I want you to imagine the scale of Ulduar. The Flame Leviathan, a tank the size of a castle. The XT-002 deconstructor, a child robot capable of crushing armies. We fought through the madness. We freed the Keepers from Yogg-Saron's mind control. And finally, we faced the Whisperer himself. We stared into the maw of madness, and we did not blink. We struck down the old god, but in doing so, we killed Loken. Chapter 8. The Star Caller. The signal was sent. The sky over the storm peaks tore open. Algalon the Observer arrived in the celestial planetarium. He looked at our world. He saw the wars, the corruption, the old gods, the scourge. He saw a flawed, broken system, and he began the sequence. Re-origination. The end of all things. I have seen worlds bathed in the Maker's flames, he told us. Their denizens fading without so much as a whimper. Entire planetary systems born and raised in the time that it takes your mortal hearts to beat once. He was not evil. He was simply cold. He was math. And we were an incorrect equation. But we fought him. We, the creatures of flesh. We, the anomaly. We showed him something the Titans had not calculated. Free will, the tenacity of life. We fought with such ferocity that the Observer halted. For the first time in eons, the Observer changed his mind. He stopped the signal. He looked at us and saw not a corruption, but a miracle. The legacy of the peaks. The storm peaks are quiet now. The engine of the Makers hums once more, kept running by the redeemed Keepers. But the scars remain. Loken is dead, but his betrayal shaped the history of the world. Thorim sits on his throne, wiser but lonelier, and beneath the earth, the remnants of the old god still fester, waiting for the chains to rust again. Travelers, when you step out into the cold night air and look up at the stars, remember this tale. Remember that even gods can bleed. Remember that wisdom without compassion is dangerous. And remember that sometimes it is the broken things, the mortals of flesh and blood, the accidents of history that are strong enough to save the world. Close the book. The wind is picking up outside, and the fire is dying down. Rest well, friends. You have earned it. Safe travels.